But last night I was at the movies with my son, and we went to see Now You See Me. It's that movie with Michael Caine's in it, and Morgan Freeman, the black guy who played God in with Jim Carrey. What was that? Bruce Almighty it was called, and he was in what I'm talking about, Morgan Freeman. He plays in this movie Now You See Me, and it's a movie about a bunch of magicians who they're thieves essentially. They're robbers. They rob banks and so on, and they never get caught. Oh, spoiler alert here! I just blew the whole thing on you, didn't I? It's not a great movie, folks. It's not. Don't waste your money by going to the theater anyhow. Oh, jeez. I'm not making very many friends here today. Anyway, if you haven't seen it, don't go to the theater. It's a kind of a waste of money. I went on cheap night. Tuesday is cheap night around my place here at the movie theaters. But I took my son to see this, and if I learned anything from it, it is that, it's something that we all knew anyhow, essentially, right? It was just a reminder that, when these magicians are doing one thing with their hands, that's not where the real action is happening. There's something else going on, but they're trying to draw your attention away from what's really going on so you don't catch on to the trick. Well, that's sort of the way I saw what happened today in the news, because when the Defense of Marriage Act was all, blowing up in the news, how the men in black at the Supreme Court, they ruled against the Defense of Marriage Act, against traditional marriage, against the Bible, essentially, really. But when that was all going on, John Kerry was making statements, making waves in Israel. This is fascinating. What he said was that during a news conference with Kuwait's Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Sabah, he said Wednesday that he was heading to Amman, Jordan, and they're going to talk peace between Israel and Palestine. That's what he said. The time is getting near where we need to make some judgments. The last time I was here, I said it's time for leaders to make some hard decisions, Kerry said. That stands. It is time. Why is it urgent? It's urgent because time is the enemy of a peace process. He said, I don't want to trap myself or any of the principles with arbitrary or somewhat ad hoc time limits, Kerry said. But he added, long before September, we need to be showing some kind of progress in some way. That's why I'm here for this visit, and I hope it can be productive. So he is saying that before September, they want to see an agreement. So look for that. That's big news. But some people might argue that it is bigger news, or just as big, to acknowledge the news out of the United States today. So I was talking with our very own Carl Gallups earlier about this, and he said, these are very spiritual times when it comes to acknowledging that there is an antichrist spirit at work in the United States. They are at war against biblical Christian values, and the Obama campaign headquarters, they sent out an email shortly after the decision, which confirms the words of Carl Gallups, because in the email blast from the Obama camp, the team rejoiced that traditional marriage has been thrown under the bus, essentially, in favor of liberalism. Liberalism is defined in the dictionary as an unrestricted lifestyle. That's a mental disorder, folks. If you live an unrestricted lifestyle, you won't live long. You'll crash and burn, and essentially, people will have to restrict you. And people who self-restrict, they're also known as conservatives. So, liberalism is a mental disorder, but Uh, Also, I want you guys to notice in the wording of this email from Organizing for Action, which is essentially Obama.com. If you go to Obama.com, you'll be taken to Organizing for Action. This is the Obama camp. It says the fight goes on. What do you think that means? The fight goes on. What are they after? Are they going to take away the 501 status of of churches which refuse to marry same-sex couples? I asked Carl Gallups about that, and if they want to take his away, whatever. I mean, Carl Gallups is not going to marry same-sex people, and there are many churches in the United States. So that's the fight, folks. That's the fight here, I think. The fight goes on, it says in the email. And listen to me now. It says, and we'll be there every step of the way, fighting like hell to see it through. So the Obama camp headquarters, they're saying this is not over. This is not over. The fight continues, they said. This is a response email to the striking down of DOMA, of the Defense of Marriage Act. I mean, that should have been the holy grail. That should have ended it, right? But no. The fight goes on, they say, the Obama camp says, and we'll be there every step of the way, fighting like hell to see it through. Until everyone has the right to marry the person they love. Excuse me? You're going to fight like hell to see it through until everyone has the right? Everyone has the right to marry the person they love. So that leaves pedophilia wide open, doesn't it? Folks, this is if this doesn't concern you, I think your concernometer is broken. Your concernometer might need some repair. Because this is a tragedy. This email from the Obama campaign is a travesty. But it's a telling travesty. It speaks volumes here. This is not, the fight goes on, they say, and they're fighting with the powers of hell to make sure that everyone has the right to marry the person they love. So I guess that's sort of, unless they give personhood to animals, that sort of leaves out bestiality. But that doesn't leave out pedophilia. Pedophilia is in the mix here. That may be where the fight goes. But listen, the fight will go to the 501 status next, I think. I think they're going to go after the churches on this one. That's what I think, because that's where most marriages happen, right? That's where they happen. I know in my conversation with Carl Gallups, he's not going to marry same-sex people. That will not happen at Hickory Hammock Baptist Church. And believe me, folks, I know Carl Gallups, and he means it. That will not happen there. But Carl also mentions that there is an end-time dynamic to this. And in my conversation with him, he mentioned the Antichrist spirit that seems to be in the White House now. And that does tie into a prophecy which says he shall think to change times and laws. Because Obama has now instructed Attorney General to comply with the Supreme Court of the United States marriage ruling against traditional marriage swiftly and smoothly. I was given the official Barack Obama statement, which was praising the court's decision in Defense of Marriage Act. This was the statement released by Obama himself, and he says, "I applaud the Supreme Court's decision." Blah blah blah, and it's all full of sophistry and so on. And so we welcome today's decision. Sophistry, sophistry, sophistry. Then you get to the end here, and he says, "The laws of our land are catching up to the fundamental truth that millions of Americans hold in their hearts. When all Americans are treated as equal, no matter who they are or whom they love, we are more free." You see how that leaves pedophilia wide open there. We're going to see a push to normalize marriage between all manner of groups here. This is a slippery slope that has a rocky bottom to it, folks. What happened today is we've been on the slippery slope for a long time in the Western world here, not just in America, but the slope just got us a little slipperier today. And Obama is seeking to change laws and times. That's what he's doing. The laws of our land, he says, are catching up to the fundamental truth that millions of Americans hold. So, P.P. Simmons has been on the front lines of this for a long time. Because the Bible says that we did a video on this. Carl Gallups narrated it and did much of the research on it 3 or 4 years ago now, called The Abomination. He will corrupt those who do harm against the covenant. But then it says, the people that know their God shall be strong and do exploits. Okay. People have said to us, look, this is going to happen. This is inevitable. It's just going to happen. And it's time to just let it happen. You know, why America's doomed, just let it go. But that prophecy, that same prophecy says, the people that know their God shall be strong and do exploits. You are commanded to not let it go. You are commanded to be salt and light in the world. And to be a bulwark against the wave of liberalism sweeping your nation. You are commanded to bloom where you're planted. You're commanded to stand against the tide of evil that, yeah, it does say that it will wax worse and worse. It does say that the time of the end, people will be lovers of themselves, etc., etc. But we are to be doing the assignments that Jesus has for us and be doing them when He returns for us. And not to spiritualize everything. I mean, common sense dictates that this activity is hurtful and harmful. It's not bigotry, folks, when everybody has to pay for it. It's not bigotry if everyone has to pay for it. In Canada, well, the Center for Disease Control, they release their numbers every year, and the bottom line is from them that if men would stop having sex with men, AIDS would just vanish. It would disappear. Because men having sex with men is the only societal group in which new cases are on the rise. What does that mean? That means that the HIV cases would decline if men would stop having sex with men. It's not bigotry when it affects everyone negatively. It's not bigotry when you have to pay for it, when you and I have to pay for it. In Canada, the nationalized health system, and the United States is on the verge of nationalizing their health system. That means everyone has to pay for the harm that these men are doing to each other. Everyone has to pay for it. It's not bigotry if everyone has to pay for it. That is why we force everyone to not drink and drive. It's not bigotry to say, don't drink and drive. Well, I enjoy drinking and driving, and it's my prerogative, and it doesn't hurt anybody. Well, that's not true. It does hurt people. You drive your car into somebody else's car, kill somebody's wife and kids. It hurts people. It hurts society as a whole when you drink and drive. It is hurting society as a whole when men are out having sex with men. It's hurting society as a whole. Diseases, cost to healthcare, which will be spread around evenly with Obamacare. People need to understand that the cause here is not just simply a Bible cause. The cause here is a common sense social cause. It is a social issue to demand accountability from these people and say, look, it's time to stop doing this. But the Supreme Court of the United States is against common sense, against the Bible, against Americans as a whole on this. Stay tuned. More to come on this. You've been listening to PP Simmons Radio. My name is Mike Shoesmith. Talk to you next time.
Do you ever wish that you could more powerfully, succinctly, and accurately speak to the message of your Christian faith and the Word of God? This is the book you need, The Magic Man in the Sky, Effectively Defending the Christian Faith. This book has been featured on TBN, Atlanta Live, dozens of radio programs, and hundreds of markets. It was rave reviewed by the Washington Times, and it was called a must-read book. Considering the times in which we now live, you need this book. Get it today on Amazon.com or the WND Superstore.